today's junk journal with me, we're going to be working on some fairly simple pages really, because I wanted to show you that you don't need to have some big fancy like convoluted process in order to create journal pages that are still like interesting and have different elements to them. You can just bring together a few different, paper scraps or materials you have to hand and still be able to create a journal page. So I'm starting off with the prompt of map for Junk Journal January, and this one I felt like it was just really simple because when I thought of map, I literally just thought, okay, I'm going to pick a piece of ephemera where I just have like a map and then use that as a background for my page. So rather than having it be like a certain element within the page, it was just going to be the entire background, and then whatever I wanted to collage on top of that or add, whether it would be different embellishments, different like wording or writing, etc., I would just add that onto the map as the background. So it was kind of like a really easy way to have the background be pre-made in a way, because I feel like you get so much interest with a map with the different like text and colours, and especially this one I picked, it was a lot more muted. It's not so much like a atlasy type map where you have like the oceans and things like that. So I think this is more urban. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea where this is actually a map of. It's just some collage paper that I have, so I wasn't doing it like a map of a specific place, but that's definitely something you could do if you wanted to have it be more like travel journal style, I guess, is you could use a map of a certain location and just use that as the background and then add your journaling on top. So that's kind of what I've done for this page, and then I've just basically journaled as I normally do, but I kept the collage cluster fairly simple, like literally just 2 extra bits of paper just to add a bit of like negative space and to almost break up the map, because it was quite busy. And if I hadn't have done that, I think that the botanical like illustration that I added over the top might have got a little bit lost on the page when you have so much going on. But I still wanted to not overwhelm it then by adding so many different collage parts, because I still wanted the map to be kind of like the main thing for this page. And so I kept it pretty simple as well when it came to adding some detail. I was just doing a little bit of colour here with like some dots and scribbles, a bit of texture really with these Neocolor crayons that I use throughout my pages, and some washi tape as well. I also kept the text pretty simple with just some cut out words, because there wasn't really a lot of space, to be honest, to add the wording, and I didn't want to take over from anything else that was going on for the page. And here I thought, oh, I'll just use this random paint pen to add some white details, and then the paint pen decided to explode everywhere on the page. And so I thought, well, I best like make the most of this. So I decided to almost use it a little bit like paint. And so I kind of got a paintbrush in my panic and decided to sort of work it into the page almost. And it actually created quite a nice like ghosting effect, and almost, I don't want to say shadow because obviously it's white paint. Like if I was adding like a darker colour or a black, that might have been a shadow. So I don't quite know how to describe it, but it almost pushed like some of the map paper back slightly, but you could still see it. And so it in a way kind of had a little bit of definition then between the cutout that I'd included on the page and the background. So it kind of brought that to the foreground a little bit. And I guess it was, as Bob Ross might say, a little bit of a happy accident, because I think just that tiny bit of like mixed media effect was just enough to tie the piece together. So for the next page that I'm working on here, I'm using the prompt of repeat, and I had quite a few different ideas for what I could do for this page, but I decided to, like I said at the beginning, keep things simple, and I thought let's just go with the first thing that came to mind, which was repeating patterns. And I think that if you're like me and you collect lots of different papers from all sorts of different places, one thing that always like sticks out to me is things that have repeating patterns. So, you know, tissue paper here that's got like spots, or I've got ones with all sorts of different patterns on them. I think it's definitely one of those things that is so easy to collect with different ephemera and be able to have all of these different patterns that we can use then within our journal pages. So I decided that this page that I was going to do was going to have quite a few different repeating patterns, but in a way that didn't sort of feel too disconnected from what I had going on for the rest of the journal. So you'll have seen that I was kind of looking through previous pages from this just to, I don't know, not remind myself, but I wanted to not have this page stick out like a sore thumb, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I know when I've done pages like this in the past, I kind of go so into the pattern work that it almost is so different to what I normally do. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I was including it in a way that still felt like it was in my style, if that makes sense. So I ended up keeping it like fairly subtle, but like for example here I've got like this tissue paper with the repeating like X's as the little pattern. I was thinking about including the spots, but the black of the dots just felt too harsh for this page, and so I wanted something that was a little bit more neutral but like warm toned, because the pages that I was working on were so bright and white, and this one here is even more like a bag. Now, I don't know why I cut that open. I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea, because the inside of that is so shiny, and I definitely do not want to attempt to journal on the surface of that. Like, I guess you could collage, but like imagine how much of a nightmare getting anything to stick with glue is going to be on that shiny surface. So we're absolutely not doing that. So I will have to do some surgery on that page, or on that like pocket, I guess, in the next journal with me. So maybe I might just have some washi at the top and the bottom. Maybe I'll stitch it. Let me know if you had a page like that, what would you do to make it into a pocket, or would you attempt to journal onto a surface like that? I think it's just because I've never really entertained like shiny surfaces within my journals. I think I've mentioned in a previous video, like I try and avoid like the glossiness of a magazine and stuff like that. So I think that that's probably the extra thing that's putting me off, is like I don't want a shiny surface, and I definitely don't want the problem of trying to get glue to stick to it. So I think I'm definitely going to turn that into something of a pocket. I'm kind of leaning towards the stitching, but not quite sure. I ended up not doing any of that in this video. I just sort of carried on with the page I was making, because I thought, like, let me just stick to one thing at a time, because I was actually having a little bit of a challenge once I got to this point of the page, because I was feeling a little bit lost in terms of where the focal point was going to be. I couldn't decide whether I wanted it to be on the left or on the right, and I've kind of felt like when I was working on different pages in this journal, I've definitely preferred the ones where I've actually worked on just like one side of the page, so like either the left hand side or the right hand side. I think it was just I was feeling a little bit disjointed in the way of trying to like bring this page together. I don't know if it's because maybe I was missing some warmer tones on the right hand side, or the different materials, or what, but it definitely felt a little bit all over the place, this page. Maybe it was because I had larger collage elements maybe, and I didn't have enough like small like bitty little clusters like I normally do. But yeah, this is definitely not one of my favourite pages, but it was nice to do just like a simple page. I even spent ages debating how to include the text, like should I have some extra paper behind it to have a bit of negative space, but then I thought let's just go straight on to this book page, and I actually turned the journal on its side because I figured that having the text going that way against the writing would help it to stand out a little bit, and I think it works quite well in terms of standing out, at least, like it doesn't get completely lost. But again, like I was saying, this doesn't feel like it comes together, and I'm not quite sure what it was, but I was just trying to power through because the whole point of a daily like junk journaling challenge like this is that not all the pages are going to be amazing, but you will at least learn something from the pages. So there are a few elements that I might take into other pages. I did quite like the little bit of sort of leaf doodle that I did on the right hand side there, but this is everything for the page of repeat, so I hope you enjoyed journaling along with me for this one.